Guys, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to go receivers. Obviously, I'm going to say Robbie Anderson, obviously A.J. Green, but dare we say D-Hop?
I'm out.
I think DeAndre Hopkins. It's probably more likely he's off.
If we don't flip the script with the coaches.
But is it trade? I mean, are you trading them?
Oh, sure, yeah. You can get a day.
What are you trying to get?
DeAndre Hopkins to me has to be acquired for at least the top 60 pick next year, which is a starter, hopefully year one. Because again, the Cardinals, that's $30 million in cap space that they can move off their books. They can get somebody else in.
But we saw this offense without him.
Right.
Oh
But you have to trust the vision of the new head coach and the coaching staff. If it's Cliff Kingsbury coaching this team, God help us all, you have to keep D-Hop.
I told you if Cliff's my guy, if he's coming back, I'm not. If I'm D-Hop's, I'm out. Without a doubt. 30 million, 20 million, I'm out. Because
I'll collect
that.
I'm out.
I think you can make the case to keep D-Hop. You can make the case for moving off DeAndre Hopkins at 31 years old. Business-wise, only guys
I'm gonna make
named Larry
them move
Fitzgerald play well beyond 30 for the most part.
Well, I mean, just at the end of the day, D-Hop doesn't. I mean, he has a little knickknacks, but at the end of the day, when you're on losing teams, he's
been a consummate that guy. He's been that guy,
and he's been that guy. And so, but when you're on losing teams, man, you find little knick-knack injuries to kind of they pop up for no reason. When you're on winning teams, man, everything feels okay.
So you're saying there's no coincidence
that means
why he missed today?
Well, today, no, I know. When they told me David Blau, I was hurt. I got hurt when they told me David Blau was my quarterback.
Shit, I don't know if I can come
I almost didn't make it here
Blau.
today. I got hurt when they told me David
Those
Blau.
hospital balls that we thought were coming. David was actually relatively accurate.
Right. When they told me on Friday, David Blau, I saw David Blau starting quarterback. I got hurt. I almost didn't make it here Friday.
Where wouldn't you mind seeing D-Hop play? Because he's a guy that you're going to root for beyond.
Can go in conference.
Once upon a time, this team traded a receiver the caliber of DeAndre Hopkins to the Baltimore Ravens when they traded Anquan to Baltimore. He went on to win a Super Bowl there. I think you rekindle those discussions and say, hey, Baltimore, give us your 2 for DeAndre Hopkins. Give Lamar the number 1 wide receiver he's never had.
I'm going to go Kansas City because they're going to have a later first round. I could see them potentially getting that.
Kansas City. I do think that we're not going to be able to look back at like the Amari Cooper. Look how good Amari Cooper's playing this year. You don't think Dallas was like a redo on that?
Right.
And they gave him away for a 5th rounder. I think even at 31, Hopkins' value, and I might be crazy, is still.
I agree.
He
like
can reunite
with
Watson in Cleveland.
Yeah, but here's the problem. So our general manager's out, and you don't know what if Adrian's going to be the guy or Q going to be the guy, and so we have to kind of you don't know what the numbers are going to be like on the table for D-Hops. If he says, look, like you said, they gave away one of the top guys for a fifth round pick, and Anquan is amazing. And apparently, this organization doesn't have that problem when they have significant players and they get to a certain amount of money or they reach a certain cap level, they have no problem trading those guys. We saw that with Aeneas, we saw that with Jameer Miller, we saw it with David Brown, David Johnson. Yeah. So, and we got a plethora of names we can keep naming when it comes to that. So I think there's a number that they will stop at. But to remove them off the books and to open up the pocket for maybe some younger guys, I think the Cardinals have no problem with moving D-Hop.
Bo, you said it beautifully during the broadcast. Like, it's a win-win for both teams. Whomever gets D-Hop, you're excited, you're fired up, you feel like he's the missing piece for your offense. And for the Cardinals, you're playing the long game, trying to rebuild this roster that's paper thin right now. Yeah. And again, if Kyler Murray's not going to be ready to go for the start of next year, then is that 4 to 6 weeks that you're wasting D-Hop?
But what I have to throw at you, we see the league every week, and we see how important it is to score points. Not having a clear-cut number one. Yeah. Not having...
Go get one in the draft. Go find one. Do something this franchise under Steve Keim has never been able to do. From Hakeem Butler, Andy Isabella, Rondell Moore now. Go find an impact receiver.
A guy named Sean Payton.
Oh.
He was able to draft and develop some guys. Marcus Colston. Mike Thomas became the slot king. He was a second-round pick out of Ohio State. I mean, he was able to draft it. I mean, it took a quarterback playing at a really high level as well. But, be able to draft guys and develop them, it's been something that's you've been too far in between drafting and developing guys. I think what we saw today, I thought Hollywood Brown put together a pretty decent game. Catching passes from David Blau can be a compliment to somebody. If you get somebody big and physical, it can kind of complement what Marquise is doing. Yeah, you gotta like it. You gotta be forward thinking with it in this league.
Hollywood brings a lot to the table. When we had him on draft day and the switcheroo that we did with the first round draft pick, I was really disappointed with that because I thought, we had done a really good job of scouting.
You had to do it though.
Well, I'm okay with that. Watching him play, watching what he's been able to do, because prior to that he had hamstring issues.
But that is he better than what they've had?
I think
Christian Kirk.
He's probably a little bit better than Christian.
Here's the difference. I don't think that we got a chance to see him play with his quarterback as long as we saw Christian Kirk play with Kyler Murray.
When Hollywood started the year, he was really good.
I love Hollywood, I think, but Chris Kirk was a dog.
No, he is. We another 1,000-yard receiver over in Jacksonville. But our mentality is that I believe that HB brings a lot to the table. Like he's 700 yards, a little bit shy, not playing. But again, guy
perfect number 2.
Yeah,
Kirk just hit 1,000 yards for the first time in the season. It was his year 5. Hollywood hit it year 3.
But again, you got to look again. This is the conversation we have when you look at not being in a consistent system that finds a way to feature you or feature guys.
Hollywood was never featured in that Ravens offense. It was a run first offense.
Yeah, it was, but he still got 1,000.
I just want new. I want new players. I want new coaches. I want new GMs. I want new uniforms. And again, we preached about it all week. This fan base that is starved for a winner, that's been scorned by this administration and coaching staff.
Are you okay being patient though?
I was just about to say, hell yeah, I can. I want to. How many times did this staff with Vance Joseph fumble the talents of young players to watch shit play on the field for just veterans that had no future with this team? I'm sorry. Like I am all for you take your lumps and you're getting young guys snaps and we can see the silver line. This fan base is smarter than everybody gives them credit for. Like I don't even think Michael Bidwell realizes this. Like if you clean house and you start a bunch of rookies next year and young players alike and you have a little bit of trouble, you can say, okay, I'm looking at the box score. That player jumped off the screen to me. I see the progress that they're making. You're trending up, right? You can't be afraid to do what like the Seahawks did this year. It's like we play all of our rookies and they're going to have some tough times, but you know what? We've seen enough progress now where they should explode in 2023. That's never the case. Trey McBride, that's why we're fired up. It's really the first rookie draft pick, especially offensively in the Kingsbury era, that has had momentum going into year 2. Everybody else is just like, well, we kind of know what we have with this player, but we didn't get enough playing time. They didn't see enough snaps. Like Isaiah Simmons, I'll never forget this. I've talked about this before. Like after the 2020 season, Michael Bidwell came out with a video and touted star players like Byron Murphy and Isaiah Simmons. They barely played that year. They tried to manufacture something that wasn't there. And I will never put it on the players. I will 100%, even with my guy Rondell Moore, put it on this coaching staff. You got to get a coaching staff that is young player friendly. And even if that comes with losses initially, there's a plan to be made. There's not a plan, Bo. Playing 1-year veteran free agent journeyman players lose games. I can't stomach it anymore.
Right. It doesn't prepare you for the long haul at all. It just is kind of putting a patch on a sinking ship, on a sinking boat, right? And it's not big enough. It's just going to eventually, it's going to fill up. I don't care if you know
Vance's defense. You're not any good.
Right, exactly. And it seems like it's coaches that have been backed into a corner that they feel like on a play-to-play basis, they can't have a guy just kind of fail and learn from his mistakes. They need guys who can just be out there, even if it's a mediocre NFL, but maybe not even above replacement caliber player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Ben Niemann.
Well,
Ben Niemann
didn't have a lot of depth,
played
guys.
in all these games,
They didn't have
and
a lot
we
of
never say his name. He doesn't make an impact
But
on
he
basis.
probably impresses the hell out of Vance
Right.
Monday through Friday, and I don't give two shits about that. And they have done a disservice to Zaven and Isaiah for not playing them 100% of the snaps as rookies. Because they thought, foolishly, like, we're going to win this year and we can't have the defense being a liability and blah, blah, blah.
But you say that, but then you see them out there earlier on in the year and they were getting worked, and you understood why worked against Kansas City and all the teams that had tight ends and
Isaiah
the ability
should be
to run
playing
the ball.
Slot corner. That's a bunch of garbage.
What I mean, he runs a 4-3.
Kelsey
I mean, if it
works
works,
everybody. I mean,
fair.
Yeah.
Fair, but my point is that when you're getting work consistently, their jobs are on the line, right? They want to be competitive. You got to think that these coaches want to win. And I'm not battling you or Bo's point. I absolutely agree with you. But I guarantee a guy like Niemann, he's a guy that they can count on special teams because you need him there, right? The game that nobody talks about, the kick game. And then he's probably a reliable backup. And then when you have injuries coupled with that, that's why he ends up on the field. Right, you don't expect them to hear his number called, but that's why those guys stay in the league, because they're smart, they don't make mistakes, and the coaches know that they can count on them. I think that what's more glaring is when you got a guy like Isaiah Simmons or Zaven Collins, where the expectation is huge, and you see them playing, and they just it's all about process. We talk about this paralysis by analysis, right? They're thinking too much, it slows them down, especially when you see a guy that are big, fast, and strong, and they just can't play at that high level. We've seen glimpses from both those players, right? We saw game-changing plays by both Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, but I think what it was, we didn't have a lot of depth on the D-line to help them out, and it wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
So to have those two negatives, like that's what the situation that we're in right now as a ball club.
Let's continue this game. As far as we asked the players, as far as which players are we seeing playing their final game in an Arizona Cardinals uniform against the Niners next week. Vance Joseph, is this his final game as DC?
100%. Because even if there's a glimmer of hope for Cliff Kingsbury, Vance's defense has not been good enough this year. And again, I am not here saying that Cliff deserves his job more than Vance. He doesn't. He's been worse than Vance, I would argue, most of his tenure here in Arizona. But, I mean, Cliff would only secure his title based on the fact that you just extended him. Vance would be the unofficial sacrificial lamb in that scenario, and which would be wrong. It would be Keim staying over Steve Wilkes 2.0. You'd have to clear house for everybody. So,
I would say that this year, I would say Vance he has played probably 6 rookies throughout. I mean, that's D-line.
Christian Matthews,
D-line, secondary, about 6 rookies. Mm-hmm. And had to play them, and literally had to play them. So, I mean, yeah. If I'm Vance, it's two parts. Mm-hmm. I want to see these guys develop. I recognize the talent of these guys. I think Zaven Collins is going to be absolutely special in the NFL. Once he figures out how it works out, Zaven, Isaiah, these guys are going to be special. Yeah. Majay is going to be special. Our D-line, any of those guys that played D-line this year, they got a chance to hang out with JJ, got a chance to see what it really takes to be a pro. Those guys are absolutely going to be fabulous. We watched that today in display. We saw Thomas, we saw Thompson, we saw Majay. We saw these guys actually play at a high level. Week 16. There's another week on the table. So, but I don't think Vance is going to be here only because of that. I think Vance is going to be going with the whole staff. But I think that he would want to be here only to watch those guys develop. But in truth, watching the way the organization have run it the last 3-4 years, if I'm Vance, I want to be out.
I'm going to give you a hot take right now of a player that I think could be gone. You think about somebody that they have to pick up as 5th-year option or decide upon that, a new coaching staff, new regime entirely that did not draft him. I think Isaiah Simmons could be shopped this offseason. I have no sourcing on that, but I think if the new DC's like, he's a tweener, he doesn't fit what I want to do, you ship him to a team that had a high draft pick on him, a high draft grade, I should say. Again, I think Zaven is much more your prototypical NFL linebacker, and I think he'll seamlessly integrate to what you want to do as the next regime. But Simmons, to me, that pick was a Keim special, and he's not found a full-time position. And you could say that's a mistake. It's going to be Hassan Reddick 2.0, and you might be right. You might be right.
Without a doubt.
But I think there's a chance that he could get moved this offseason because of the price tag that you're going to have to pay him as a top 10 pick, and the money that's going to continue to go up. Picking up a 5th-year option basically guarantees now he's going to be in your plans the next 2 years.
You don't
roll your eyes. You're rolling your eyes at me.
I think if you think you're worth a shit, and as a coach, and you see a player the caliber that has the ability of Isaiah Simmons, you're like, no, you're not trading that guy.
There have been linebackers.
I could get the most from him.
Yeah,
I could get the most from him.
If you're worth a shit as a coach, you view him as somebody that you can turn around his career.
I would say everything's on the table.
I agree with that.
In terms of if you get a new GM, you get a new head coach, I think that they're going to go down that roster and vet and audit and see, hey, what do we do well? What fits our system? I think if that's a turnover, everything's on the table, including D-Hop, including Zaven or Isaiah, however they fall in, because it all has to fit with what they do. Right, so you're taking that chance when you bring in an unknown, and all you have to look at who did well. Mm-hmm. And I think going into the season, what is it, 4-11, 4-12, whatever their record is, there wasn't a lot of good. I mean, we got some young talent like Majay Sanders, Cam Thomas, Trey McBride, Greg Dortch, players that you wouldn't necessarily unconventionally think that were stars. And that's not where you want it, because you want your draft picks to do well and you want your key players to do well, guys like Kyler Murray. And didn't happen this year.
Simmons isn't Andy Isabella. He's not an undersized wide receiver.
But it's a position.
He's 6'4", he's 230, he runs a sub 4.4. He's a freak.
Your quarterback is making over $40 million.
Not next year.
All I'm saying is
he's like 7% of your salary.
But you're going to have to make assumptions about Simmons being part of your future in the now. and you're going to have to tie guaranteed money to him.
It's year 4 for Simmons. You
pick up his 5th-year option?
Pick up your 5th-year option.
So that's 2 years.
You got him under
guaranteed.
contract. Yeah, you got him under contract for 2 years, and it's not going to be a big issue for you. You got a guy that you think that you can harness that type of athleticism. We see Vic Fangio, who's tied to Sean Payton. Yeah,
but you've seen enough of his potential ability to not
I'm not
the chunk of four.
He stood up Derrick Henry last year at the goal line. He
makes plays.
He's seen enough.
But he also gets plays made
This is
on.
why I agree with. Like I think he's a good NFL player, but I don't think with the price tag that he's going to be paid or maybe asked for, I don't know if you can.
Easy said the same thing about Hassan Reddick.
No, Hassan Reddick before he left Arizona.
Everybody says
no, Hassan Reddick had 12.5 sacks before he left. If Isaiah Simmons has a Pro Bowl linebacking
his first
year
2
next
years,
year,
though, but his first 2 to 3 years were terrible.
If you were talking about Hassan Reddick right now at this point in Isaiah Simmons' career, you're saying, see ya, sayonara. They didn't even pick up his 5th-year option.
But he's a pass rusher. What is Isaiah? What even is Isaiah?
But that's the problem. I think that's on the coach.
Determination. Yeah, you have to say, hey man, you know what?
But he didn't really have a position coming out of college, though. Nobody really knew it.
And so that's when DA talked about. That's when DA said the difference between being a general manager and drafting the best available and not drafting what your team needs is the difference. You cannot sit in here and say I want a top 4 pick, top 5 pick. And the guy walks in and says, "Well, we're just drafting the best available."
He won the game in Vegas.
You can't do it.
This is going to come off.
He makes game-changing plays. He had a game-changing play against Vegas.
We know that.
He had a game-changing play against the Vikings. He had a
Dallas.
game-changing play.
Dallas
last year.
He got benched after the opener.
Yeah, but
in year 3.
But that's on Vance. That's on Vance and
Okay.
Cliff.
Okay. So we're how much emphasis are you putting on this coaching staff for Simmons' kind of lackluster
Just mess with
his
Easy.
NFL career?
I think
Just
like
mess with
60%.
60-40. That's probably about fair.
Yeah.
The coaching staff versus
That's my math.
Isaiah.
Yeah.
60-40. 60 coaching staff, 40 against Isaiah.
No, 80-20. I'm definitely for the player. He has a lot of you drafted him because he has an athletic ability and a skill set. You need to make a determination.
Where should he be? From what you're seeing, where should he be?
What I say, actually, he should be a defensive end, and you need to teach him how to get around that edge. You
defensive end.
You bulk edge. You bulk him up. No, not linebacker. Because
What?
You bulk him up. You put some weight on him.
No one knows what to do.
You bulk him up. That's the part. So you just,
I promise
we do.
if he come on the show, I would have been.
Hey,
I would have been.
Here's
super
the
nice
difference.
To him.
Watch
What are
this
we
here.
playing, a 4-3 now?
Long.
We might be.
He has long arms and he has speed.
He needs to
and
be
he's rangy.
a Sam or Will in a 4-3.
Is
defense.
a Sam or Will linebacker worth that pick though?
No, I'm gonna say
no. They're fucking not.
Are
you taking off Will
But where did Levante David and the other
linebacker?
Levante
Devon
David
White?
was
White? Where'd they go?
They went. Devon White went top 10. Levante David was a 2nd-round pick. Devon White is a much better football player than Isaiah Simmons. It is not close.
Well,
Todd
Devon
Bowles
White
is
is in a
big-
specific
helped him.
position.
But exactly.
I'm saying
There
we're
you
talking
go.
about developing him. I say if you grab him, he's 6'4". He runs a 4.3. I'm sorry, and he's got long arms and long legs. You put weight on him and let him get around the edge. You teach him how to get around the edge. That's all you do. You tell him how to get around the edge. What was Dwight Freeney is how tall? I'll wait.
6 foot.
6 foot.
And how?
6
Thank
foot
you.
one.
So what are we talking about? And all he did was drop his shoulder and
I
spin,
am
get around
not
the
ready
edge.
to bail on him. I
All
want
I'm
to see him
saying
with
is
another coaching staff, but you're going to know.
I'd still stand him
Specifically-
up. I still put him at outside.
You're going to know.
But I'm gonna put him on the
next
line.
year.
More like Alden Smith than
I'm sorry, guys.
than
I
Dwight
agree.
Freeney.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to
all
know
there.
pretty quick next year if he's a bust or not. Because
Either
if a
way.
second staff gets their hands on him and he still is not consistent enough, then you're just like,
You think you're worth a lick as a coach? You want Isaiah Simmons on
You're
your
going for
roster.
they're running a 4-3 next year. Believe it.
If he's my guy,
Now, if they get Big Fangio,
and I gotta
Fangio
go,
runs a
and I gotta go.
3-4.
If I gotta go 3-4 defense,
No.
he's my outside guy, and he's bringing the edge.
I want
whole
to be
time.
wrong.
Jalen Carter
Speed
at the
around the
tackle.
corner.
You
Speed
got,
around the corner.
Yeah.
Is how big is he compared to Myjai Sanders? I would.
They're about the same
About the
size.
same size.
So then, what are we
Myjai's-
talking about?
Myjai's 6'5".
And he's not not faster.
I'm with you.
So
I would
if
play Simmons
Myjai
at outside
Sanders
linebacker.
can do the same, Myjai Sanders he's a DN, he's an edge rusher, and so you're telling me
Yeah, he's
I
outside
can't.
linebacker.
Does anybody
saying-
think that Isaiah Simmons is a slot
Same
corner?
thing.
Real quick,
Not
Is
at
he a
all.
slot
Definitely
corner?
not. No, no.
That's
You should be one.
That's
Not at
a
all.
fireable.
You should be
No.
one.
That's
Not
a
at all.
fireable
No.
offense.
No.
And that's where we put
No.
That 4-3, bro. You got to be able to switch
Well,
some heads.
4-3, but he's only played football. He don't have enough football timeline. He only played football his sophomore year in high school, And then sophomore, senior, then he went to Clemson in 2 years. He was out. Oh, yeah.
You're getting love in the chat, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
B's saying exactly, Frank. Fantastic
I was paying with him.
Frank's got Isaiah in his back pocket.
Look, I'm saying, what's your boy? What is a Pearson over at Dallas?
Mike Parsons.
Mike Parsons. Yeah. What does he look like?
A dog?
What does he look like? I said what he play like.
6'4", 250 probably.
He's doing it.
He is an ass kicker.
Put more weight. Put a little more weight on your boy.
But he got dog.
But you teach him. You put a little more weight on your boy.
Fangio, if he comes to town, needs to put Isaiah Simmons on a beefed up diet.
That's what I would do. This is what I would do with him. He's on my look.
Make him the next.
I'm at PlayStation and he murdering people. That's all I'm saying. I'm at home with PlayStation and he murdering people.
I like
off the field.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right, I threw a time bomb on that. I apologize. I don't think Isaiah Simmons is going anywhere.